I am here with Colton Little, who stars as Andrew Donovan on Peacock's Days of Our Lives. His character is going to be getting married this coming Tuesday to his long-term, fiance, obviously now, but they didn't start out as fiancés, uh, Paul and Narita. What was it like to hear that your characters would be platformed in such a huge way, um, being an LGBTQ couple?
It's such an honor. And I remember getting the email and receiving the scripts and being pleasantly surprised because I think when I joined the show 3 years ago, I was coming on for 5 episodes of Beyond Salem 2,
Mhm,
and I had no idea or intention or belief that my character would continue on after that.
mhm.
And so getting to join the mothership at all, let alone have a 3 year span of developing these characters and their romantic relationship and um now getting to sort of cement that in soap history with gay wedding,
Hmm.
especially coming during the month of Pride, which is incredible timing. um it's an honor, and it was surprising. It was as surprising to me as I'm sure it is going to be for a lot of fans, or it was when that news was announced.
Yes. And what brought you guys back to town originally was obviously a bittersweet occasion marking the passing of Drake and the character of John, who was Paul's father. What was it like going in knowing that you were going to be there to deal with some heavy stuff, but then there would be some light at the end of the tunnel for both of you?
I think I don't want to speak for Christopher, but I know that he's had a very hard time with Drake's passing. And I know that it was, like, the word you used was bittersweet. I think when both of us read the scripts and found out that we were going to be married around the same time as the funeral was taking place, there were a lot of questions that came up, and rightfully so. And thankfully to the team at Days, they were really receptive to our concerns and to the conversations behind the scenes of, do you feel like this will be insensitive to Drake's memory, or do you feel like we will give Drake his due
Mhm.
in the funeral episodes and honor his memory in a way that doesn't feel like we're stepping on anything or riding the coattails of anything.
Right.
And the team, obviously, Drake was in touch with producers and he gave his blessing to have the funeral be filmed before his passing in
Hmm.
real life. And I think that the show did such a great job with his funeral and his memorial,
Hmm.
and honoring like the history of him and his story and Marlena's story, and then also being able to now open the door to like what's next for Salem and what's next for Marlena and the entire family. So I think that, and I loved the scene that we have with Deidre where she tells us, "Are you kidding me? You can't, like, you have to continue. You have to get married." Like, that's what he would want. In real life, that was the kind of man Drake Hogestyn was. He was such a champion of people, and he was such a kind-hearted, loving human being. And so it felt right after the conversations we had behind the scenes to continue on with the storyline of Paul and Andrew getting married.
So what is the mood like prior to the wedding in terms of like the day of? Do you guys do like a bachelor party or anything, or is it a little bit more toned down than what would normally happen before a wedding due to the passing of John?
It was definitely toned down. I think that, again, it was trying to strike that balance of, honoring the mood uh, that Salem was in post funeral, but also, realizing that this is a time of celebration. And John and Marlena are love on that show. They represent love. They represent love in all of its different facets. And so knowing that we could kind of take that and build upon it and have our own experience with our own wedding and being surrounded by people that we love and that love us, um, that was the tone. That was the mood. I remember, I mean, what happens previously. previous to the wedding in the episode, obviously fans will see, but again, it's a little bit more toned down. It's a little bit more us taking a moment because Paul and Andrew from the start were sort of an island with each other. They went on this mission in Hong Kong, and it was all action and spy drama and all of this happening, 3 years ago. And so now it's kind of nice because again, we have each other. And a lot of our love story takes place off screen. And so they sort of continue with that theme of us enjoying each other, being around each other. There's a little bit of fraternization with like Paul and some of his family members and honoring, who he is as a character, as well as like Andrew and his family. So we both get our private moments and we both get our moment together, and then the beautiful wedding, of course.
Yeah, and you just, you made a connection there that when you were talking, you were saying how John and Marlena's love represents, part of the show, where now representation of the LGBTQ characters getting married is representation in a different light, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's truly young Colten, who grew up in conservative small town Nebraska, never thought that as a gay man in my private life, I would be able to see this on television, let alone actually be a part of creating this, and being part of that representation for someone else out there watching. And I've had a chance to meet so many fans over the last 3 years who've come up to me and said, your character has given me the like the bravery or the peace of mind to be able to come out to my family, or they've allowed me to see myself reflected on screen. And I think that that's the biggest honor of all.
Does that add a certain amount of weight to when you're filming the scenes, that you're thinking kind of outside of what you're actually doing, that this is a huge deal? Not that it wouldn't be a huge deal if that wasn't part of it, but
Yeah. That's a good question, because I think for me, my identity isn't something I can take on or off like a mask. So I chose to be an out gay actor in Hollywood, which I've been told is a risky move, quote unquote. And for me, there was no other choice. I live my life authentically off screen. I have a very lovely, well, well appointed life off screen with lots of loving people in my life that I get to feel love from and experience wonderful moments with. And so when I'm on screen, I think it's just an extension of the love that I feel in my real life. And it is important for me, like the representation and making sure that we're not playing into stereotypes and things like that on the show. There have been conversations, changing dialogue and talking to producers and being like, hey, I feel like this is something that I wouldn't really necessarily say, or I feel like maybe this is a better way to approach this topic or whatever it is. And that happens in this episode, for example. I mean, it's specifically more so with Christopher. We honor his Japanese heritage in the wedding ceremony, which is a really special moment. And Christopher had full say on how the ceremony was done, the parameters around it, the style in which it was done. And so that I do give credit to the show in that way, that they do listen to us and they do take our advice.
that's beautiful. And again, kind of part of that question was, does it take you out of the acting a little bit, knowing that what you guys are portraying on screen is having an impact to those people, like you said, in Nebraska, or where, whatever small town they're in? Or do you focus solely on just doing the best performance you can, and that's a beautiful benefit of portraying that character?
I think it's a beautiful benefit. I think it's, we all show up. It's a very blue collar atmosphere on set. Everyone shows up to work. It's very 9 to 5. There's very little ego on set. And I think that we're all there to do a good job and to service the text and to service the story. And I'm glad that it does impact people. It's not on my mind personally because, like I said, my identity isn't something that I can remove and put back on, or it's just part of who I am. And so I think what one thing Andrew's taught me is that, the diaspora of LGBTQIA plus individuals in the world is so diverse and so beautiful, just like the rainbow. And for me, it doesn't mean one thing to play a gay character or be a gay man.
Mhm.
It can mean a lot of things. I can be vulnerable. I can be tough. I can be open. I can be intense. There's so many things that I'm allowed to be and
Yeah.
explore. And Andrew's sort of taught me to embrace all of those things.
And he's a spy. I mean, what cooler job can you have than a spy?
Oh, it's my favorite thing to say to people when they're like, "Oh, who's your character on the show?" And I'm like, "I'm a gay spy," and they're like, "That's cool."
If
I'm
they're
like, "I'm
looking for a new
James
James
Bond."
Bond, you should
Yeah,
show them show them what you're made of. So
yeah.
after the wedding, is there some celebration, or do you guys go back out on assignment?
Mm. We after the wedding, there's a cool conversation that happens because I think a lot of people know by now Shane is present at the wedding, which was such an incredible experience to get to work with Charles Shaughnessy finally
Mhm.
after so long.
Yeah.
Um, and there are some really cool conversations that happen in regards to sort of what comes next for Black Patch, what comes next with the ISA, and Andrew and Paul are both privy to that
That's
conversation.
that's nice. You
Yeah.
had your wedding and now get back to work. You got a lot of stuff to
New
do.
Horizons, exciting.
That's right. So what are you still working on your film that was a short on YouTube and was going to be you were trying to work it into a feature film?
Oh yeah, Phases is was the name of the short. Now it has a different working title, but I am, and that's actually very exciting. I'm working on the feature script right now, and it that has to do with themes of LGBTQIA representation, but also kind of the weight that living with a secret does to you.
Mhm.
And it's a horror themed movie.
Yeah.
But I also I have found through my research and being a horror fan that horror has always been a genre that really caters well to the gay community and the queer community because we've been vilified and we are continuing to be vilified in today's political climate,
That's
and shockingly. um and so it was kind of an easy segue to then go into a story that explores that idea of like what happens when you live with a secret too long. And it's directly related to like me and my grandfather's relationship because I was never able to come out to my grandfather. And there were so many things that my grandfather lived with in his own personal life that he was never able to share with me, or he never felt safe enough to share with me, that I found out after his death. And I was like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if like my grandfather had this huge secret, a dark secret, and I had this secret that I've been living with, and I never got to tell him, and he never got to tell me.
Mhm.
And then I'm slowly finding out after his death more about him, and then I'm wondering what it was like for him to live with that secret. So that's sort of the idea of the film. And yeah, it's kind of been a nice, I've been taking my time with it because it's been a nice meditation, and it's sort of continued to develop into something that I never expected it to develop into. So
What's it like taking off the actor hat for a moment to actually work on this solely as the creator and the writer?
incredible because it made me realize that I love to direct,
Mhm.
and directing for me is a passion, and it's something that I am excited to continue exploring. And as a director and a writer, those are both fields that you can continue growing at and getting better at and changing. And there's a direct product at the end of it. As a director, you can learn about lenses, you can learn about lighting, you can learn about blocking, you can learn about directing actors, you can learn about locations, you can learn about budgets and finance. Like there, it just never ends. And sometimes as an actor, you sort of feel like a prop with legs, you
Mhm.
know. You are given your lines, you're given your place to stand. Yes, you do the work of the character work and developing the emotional life underneath, but sometimes it feels very limiting because you're stuck doing one job and you have no creative say sometimes when you're on certain sets
Mhm.
uh, about what your character can do or where it can go. But the director or the writer, those are the people who shape those things a lot of the time.
Will you
So
direct it as well?
what
Will you direct it as well?
that's kind of something I'm toying around with. I'm talking to to some director friends that I respect, and I want at the end of the day, I want it to be my main goal is to have it shot in Nebraska, in my hometown, so that I can bring some sort of economic, you know, benefit back to them and to that area, but also to uh, showcase, where I grew up and like because it's truly a character in and of itself. I'm from a town of 300 people surrounded by woods out in the middle of nowhere. There's a train track that runs across the one road that brings you in and out of town. So it's
Sounds
a
very it's great setting for a werewolf experience.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, so definitely go back to Nebraska. That sounds perfect.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
What would you like to say to the fans who have followed the journey of not only your career, but also the character of Andrew and have become so invested in his relationship with Paul and, when he's popped back in his relationship with his sister?
Um, Thank you because like I said, I thought that I was on this going to be on the show for 5 episodes of a spinoff on Peacock,
Mhm.
and it turned into a 3-year journey that's continuing. It continues on today.
Mhm.
Um, and I know that soap fans are fiercely protective of their characters and their storylines, and it could have gone left at any point. They could have turned on me or not welcomed me with open arms, but all I've felt is love and acceptance from the Days of Our Lives community. And you'll get the occasional homophobic comment on social media or a comment about people skipping past the same-sex scenes. And on the other side of that same coin, I have people who said that they grew up extremely conservative and they never thought that they would enjoy watching a same-sex storyline on television, and now they're some of our biggest fans.
That's amazing. That's a
And that's
testament to the work and the show.
it is it's all it's such a you couldn't make that alchemy if you tried to add all the pieces together. It's something that sort of magically happens, and that's a testament to Christopher, for being such an ally and also being open to welcoming me into the show and allowing me to learn along the way and to fumble and figure things out, and him helping me and picking me back up, and the show championing us, and also people like you who write about us and that very very kind article you put out not too long ago about Days needing to bring us back, like that, getting that sort of thing out there is the message out there, I should say, is the thing that brings us back onto the show and keeps it going. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Maybe when they pop back into Salem next time, they'll have a child that they're raising on their own, which will bring extra special awareness. I don't know how you deal with a child and be a spy at the same time, but that's not up to us. That's up to Ryan and all the other writers.
For sure, for sure. I was like, a fan asked me the other day if what type of pet Andrew would have, and I was like, I don't think he would have a pet. Like, I think he would be. He's
He'd
so
be a
focused on,
horrible pet father.
yeah. Like, I mean, he's always gone. He's flying around the world. He's stressed about like the people in his life being held hostage or like kidnapped or things like that. I'm like, I don't think he would be a very good pet parent, let alone human parent. But who knows? I'm not going to shut down anything.
Awesome. Colton, thank you so much for taking the time out to do the interview. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I'm really looking forward to watching the wedding. For the viewers that are watching, again, it'll be on Tuesday, and it airs on Peacock.
Thank you, Bryan. Appreciate this very much.